Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hotlap competition that is currently on the Indian racing community. It's going to be a quick guide on showing you what are the steps involved to put in a valid submission to the Hotlap competition. Now, it's a fairly straightforward process. We're going to be picking the F1 2021 car because obviously you would want to minimize your time. You are free to choose any one of these cars as you wish. Just make sure to have the equal performance on the top right enabled, and then your choice of car is what you can take for the submission. So with that in place, I'm just going to take the Aston Martin, and of course you can take any track of your choice as well. Obviously would want to keep it dry so as to minimize your time as well. Maybe we might look into making a wet version of this competition, but for now feel free to pick a track of your strength, get that in loaded into the system, jump into the session, and now we just have to set a couple of things up so that the submission in itself is as smooth and doesn't really have any unnecessary data. Of course, you are always free to change the track time. That's completely up to you on how you want to set things up. Always would prefer it to be official. For now, I am going to do the same in a bit and probably load in once again. So with that, we also have to set up the OSD, the on-screen display, to a certain style. Again, this is not absolutely necessary, but would just help us along the way to just have a consistent submission throughout the board. So assist, of course, it's on you what you want to use, what you're comfortable with. The controls are pretty much the same as well. The only thing that I really want to focus on here is the on-screen display. Let's keep them enabled as the default settings. Don't want to be pushing too much. We'd prefer KPH. If you're an MPH fan, would request you to go to keep it in KPH because that's what we like, but hey, we're not going to force on that. Keep the virtual mirror off. It's a little ugly when it comes to actually viewing the submissions, not the cleanest of things, but these are the settings that you can go ahead and replicate on your system as well. After that, you can also alter your time trial settings. This is actually more important to actually go ahead and switch off every setting in this system. In this setting here, displaying the ghost, the rivals ghost, the breaking points, you want to switch all of that off so that none of it comes in the way. With that in mind, you can then pretty much set to begin. Now for the lap itself and the recording that you would submit, it is optional to load in your setup. I'm going to showcase it just for completeness, but please take this step as optional. It doesn't need to be done before the session. It can be done after as well if you so feel so. Right? There is no hard and fast rule with respect to setup. If you want to keep it private to you, absolutely fair game. With that, I'm just going to load this setup up. Again, just something from the leaderboards, and then I can jump into my Hotlap. Alright, so again, it's unlikely that you're going to get it first time in. So keeping that in mind, I'm not really going to be putting my best lap, but I just want to put something representative just to showcase. So just give me a moment to jump into it and showcase what your lap could look like. So keep a couple of things in mind. You would not want to invalidate your lap. Anything along those lines would obviously be validated and not be accepted as a valid submission. Also keep in mind that we're gonna be having this cross-platform. So at the end of the day, even if your times are the best in PC or in Xbox or in PS for that matter, it's not guaranteed that your submission will be accepted at the end of the the competition. But anyways, this is one of my favorite tracks. This is what I like to relax in. It's a lovely little track. So far, no invalidation, which is good. Keeping it nice and steady for this lap. Just bear with me until I get a sense of it. Again, you can do as many efforts as you want. You're not bound to do it in the first beginning of the session itself. You can do 10, 15, even 100 laps if you're so inclined to do so. At the end of it, make sure that it is a valid lap, and we prefer it to be your best lap as well, indicating that you've actually put in an effort. So what we are really looking for is that message on the top indicating that this is your best, also getting a rank also validates that effort so much more. But at the end of it, this is the end of the lap, so you can actually stop. So let me just go ahead and do that. And with this in place, if you've typically done 15 to 20 laps and this is finally your best effort, you can always return to the garage and then showcase your setup if you feel like it. If you want to simply showcase, where you come from, what you've done, how you set up the car, you're absolutely free to do so. At this point in time, this is where it would nicely sit up. At the end of it, you can then go ahead and end the session. But keep track of the next input. You don't want to be just clicking on X or enter to quickly end of it, because when you end the session, what's most important is this next screen. Now this one, where we actually showcase the car that you've taken, the time, and the split up of times with the sector timings as well. We need the on-screen display to validate that you've actually done this lap, and this is also a secondary validation that it's actually a valid one, and whether you've used assist or a setup, all of that is proof in the pudding right here. Now with this, there's one final step, and this is the most important step. Do not exit from this. If you do, you'll probably have to do it all over again. Obviously you can edit it or stitch it together, but all the numbers should match in your submission. But for now, once you've actually got a fast lap in, you can actually then click on the replay fastest lap button, which is on the bottom here. In keyboard it would be F6, on the wheel it would typically be up shifts or some other button. It would depend on your setting, but with that you would jump on to the actual fastest lap. Now we also need a recording of this for the submission. This is what would actually be featured in your if you were to get selected. This would be the lap which would be featured. Your username, your handle, your time would all be overlaid on top of this submission, so getting this in is absolutely critical. Now while it is not necessary to have a cockpit view or a TV pod or some other mode of camera view during your own lap, what we do require is your replay to feature a particular style. So that style would be to firstly take away all of the HUD. Before I do that, I am actually going to be switching to the TV pod view, which is the required view for the replay. With that in mind, I can probably go back, remove all the HUD before the start of my fastest lap, and now just let this entire lap play out. At least have 2 corners before the start of your lap, and also 1 corner, or at least 5 to 10 seconds after your hot lap as well, just so that we have enough time to talk over and through your lap, so that there's a smooth transition at the end of it. We just need to set things up appropriately for it. But now have the recording keep playing. Just have your lap recorded without any HUD and in this camera mode. These are the requirements, and this is the last step of the process. With that in place, now you're pretty much set. You can then stop the video, stitch it up, edit it. Feel free to spend as much time as you want. Even if it's a long one and you don't feel like it, at least be sure to mention the timestamps either in your YouTube or Twitch upload. Both of it are fair game, as long as we have all of the relevant data points. That is your actual lap, which is on board while you are playing it. The end session screen, where we see your time, we see your setup, we see all of that data popping up as a valid attempt, and then obviously the actual fastest lap, which is a replay of it, which you can do at the end of the session. Now just coming up to the line, so this is going to be the same point, or the point in time where I stop the recording, and then that is it. So this is it for your submission. You can feel free to attempt as many tracks as you want. At the end of the day, we're going to be looking for your best two, if not the best two. There's always room next time around. So thank you for watching. This is pretty much it for the guide. If you have any doubts or any specific questions to ask, feel free to ask any of the coordinators or admins. We are always a simple DM away. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye.